Let's bring in our first guest, a good friend of ours here on the show, Gregory Faranello, head of U.S. rates at AmeriVet Securities. Thanks for being here for another round of all-time highs at the big board.
JD, what a day, right? I mean, I didn't get much sleep last night. I'm going to be perfectly honest about that. I was a little surprised with the subpoena in general, but when you look at the dynamic between Jerome Powell and the president, this has been going on for a long time. So I think it's noise in the end. I think the market is trying to look through it. Jerome Powell he's going to finish out his term through May, and he's going to leave the board, and that's the reality of it. And the president will have his new pick in terms of who he wants. The question is, how much further can rates come down from here, regardless of who he puts in place?
That's interesting on the timeline for Powell. Is that your expectation that much like Ben Bernanke and Janet Yellen before him, once you're done with your years as chair, he still has a few years of eligibility on the Fed. You expect him just to step down altogether?
He does have eligibility on the board, but he's a pro. He's going to step down either way. It doesn't matter, but he will finish out this term. I think, look, rates have come down. They've come down a fair amount. In fairness to Chair Powell, he has brought rates down over time. So he has acquiesced, I think, a little bit to what the president wants. Rates have come down. I think the frustration is the long end has not come down. And the long end has not come down because inflation is running a little bit higher than expected, and growth is running a little bit higher than expected. That's why this administration is trying to get creative in terms of what they produce going forward, in terms of making things more affordable.
Gregory, we'll learn a lot more about things like net interest income, the strength in the spending of the underlying U.S. consumer this week for big bank earnings. We get kicked off tomorrow morning with Bank of New York Mellon. We'll also hear from J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and Wells Fargo, et cetera, later in the week. What are you tracking here? Because we know the big banks usually kick things off. I can't believe it, but we're back to earnings season.
The big banks are in great shape. There is some concern, I think, with some of the smaller banks, maybe with this cap on expenses in terms of credit cards. The big banks are in absolutely fantastic shape. We're very constructive on the big banks in general. The yield curve is steepening, which is friendly for the big banks. And overall, we are extremely constructive on this economy going forward. And that's why you look at a day like today, and you're like, the market's down overnight the whole bit, and we come right back. So I think the markets are in good shape. I think the big banks are in good shape.
Yeah, what was your reaction? Because we had that on social media Friday night from the president, essentially seeking to cap credit card interest at 10%, but not in perpetuity, only for 1 year, which just so happens to be the year of the midterm elections.
Well, it's affordability, right? I mean, that's the buzzword for this year. It started in New York City, and it's trickling over. So when you look at 2026, you look at the midterm elections, look, there are a lot of people out there that are hurting, and I think we need to be cognizant of that in general. And so affordability, I think, it's a big issue here. And we've been writing to our clients that this administration will get creative in terms of how they make things more affordable. The question does become, though, we've got a president who is a true capitalist, and at the same time, he's implementing some things that, you look at it and it's like, this is not really capitalism, right?
Sure.
You can't allow private equity firms to buy homes. You're capping credit card, debt and bills and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So this is, I think it's front and center right now. I understand what he's trying to do, and it's a good thing that he's trying to do, but affordability is going to be the word of 2026.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Zohran Mamdani put that at the forefront of his mayoral campaign
He
here in
did.
the Big Apple, and we see Republicans and Democrats saying, hey, that guy may have gotten it right. We may have different ways to get there, but affordability will be something we talk about every day across kitchen tables and here on Wall Street coming out of the election.
Absolutely. It's the word of 2026.
Gregory Faranello, head of U.S. rates at AmeriVet Securities, our good friend kicking off the broadcast. Thanks for being here as always, my man. Nice to have you.
Thank you, JD.
My man, go get him.